I'm so excited about today's episode because we're answering some of your questions about moving day. You know, moving day, that really not so fun day that comes after all the stress of finding the right place. And maybe after a hospital stay, a rehab stay, and lots of uncomfortable conversations. It's no wonder that things can slip through the cracks. I'm your host, Valerie Borgman. Let's talk moving day.
Welcome to Desperately Seeking Senior Living, a podcast for sons, daughters, grandkids, and spouses who suddenly find themselves tangled in the search for senior living and care. If you like today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and check out our doable download in today's show notes for a printable summary of the show and a bonus tip from our guest. You're listening to our doable tips, short answers to your questions. Don't see your question listed? Send us a note. Then don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an answer.
The search for senior living is like a Pandora's box. Just when you think you're on the right track, there's another layer, question, obstacle you hadn't considered. And really, how would you even know what to expect if you've never done this before? Before we dive in, I want to sort of set the tone. The questions we're answering here today are general. And I say that because answers could vary community to community, company to company, and even state to state. My hope is that you'll at least find something here today that will help you know what to expect or anticipate on your journey. So, take what you need and leave the rest. Question number 1. Do assisted living apartments come with furniture, or do we have to furnish them ourselves? This is such a great question. So, most communities do not furnish apartments, and most adult family homes do. If there's an emergency situation, so let's say your dad has Alzheimer's and he just left the house and got lost, and now you need to find a place fast, or maybe you're moving your mom from out of state. There are situations where it's going to be way easier if you can borrow some basic furniture while you get things moved. And many communities do have furniture for these situations. I've even known communities to rent furniture in order to help a family out. With adult family homes, most of them, even though they come furnished, will let you move your things in. They'll store their items so you can get your furniture in there. And of course, you definitely want to bring personal decor, photos, blankets, even if you do use their furniture. Question number 2. Can we move the bed and the recliner in? Okay, if you are asking yourself this question, then you should ask yourself why. Is there something wrong with the bed or the recliner? If you're asking this question because the bed is 25 years old, or maybe the recliner is really difficult for your loved one to get in and out of, then that would be a good reason to not bring it. But I have to say, if you do decide to bring the bed and the recliner, okay, I'm just going to say it. You have to do the smell test. I mean, you just have to. and not to get gross here, but it's really important. I can't even believe we're talking about this. But you want to make sure that whatever you move in is odor free. Communities and adult family homes have annual inspections. They can actually get a citation for an odor. Not to mention the fact that it's not exactly very hygienic. So, yes. And if you do purchase a new bed, make sure you get a mattress protector. A lot of places actually require it. So don't forget that mattress protector. Okay, moving on from grossness. And I promise that was the only gross thing we're talking about. Question number 3. Do communities have extra storage? This is another really great question. Some independent living communities or retirement communities actually do. I have known some to have storage lockers in their parking garages. So it's definitely a great question to ask. I would say that most of them don't have extra storage. And of course, adult family homes aren't going to have extra storage either. So this might be a really good time to call a downsizer. There are a lot of really great companies out there that work specifically with these transitions, and they can work miracles. We actually have one on an upcoming episode where we talk through all the details of what they can do for you. And I talk about this example too, but I'll tell you here, I had such an amazing experience with a downsizing company that, I mean, it was a miracle. I had a client that was downsizing, extremely downsizing from a 2-bedroom apartment to 1 room in an adult family home. And she was an artist. She had all of this absolutely amazing art, and she wanted to keep as much of it as she could. They transformed that room for her, and she was so happy. It was just wild what they were able to do. Okay, question number 4. Can we use any moving company we want? Usually, the answer here is yes. Some communities, though, do prefer that you use companies that they are familiar with and that know their building and that know their rules, right? Actually, this could be good for you. We all know that, time equals money with moving companies. And so if it's a company that already knows the building, that could actually end up saving you some money using their company. Question number 5. Can we just bring things through the front door? Well, that depends. Some communities have certain hours of the day and days of the week that they prefer. And this is usually not using the elevator or moving during meal times. And of course, that's because all the residents are using the elevator. And also, some communities might have a specific route or a certain elevator that they use for moving. They oftentimes have that padding, that protection that they put in the elevator. So you definitely want to make sure you're coordinating your move with the community. Question number 6. What if we're moving from one apartment to another within the community? This is a really great question. So, if there is a move in an emergency situation, for instance, I worked on a campus that had assisted living and memory care. And there was a gentleman who had early Alzheimer's, and he was able to be successful for a short time in assisted living. But one day we found that he had climbed a retaining wall and he had gotten stuck. And in that moment, it became an emergency. He was unsafe and he now definitely needed memory care. And of course, with Alzheimer's, that can change so quickly. And so in this instance, we were the movers. I was one of the movers, and we moved the things that we could move. He had to downsize. So we moved those items over and got him set up on the memory care side. The community will let you know if something like this happens. But in that case, we weren't charging the family. We just did the move. I think it's a good idea to know what that policy is because, of course, if you're requesting a move just because you like the view better from another apartment that is now available, that's probably going to be your responsibility to hire a moving company to actually make that move. And there are some communities that will charge you for that move. They might charge a small cleaning fee. So it's really important to find out what the specific policy is. Okay, question number 7. We've moved all day and we're hungry. Now what? I love this one. So, this is so important. It's so easy to forget about staying hydrated and eating when you're busy with a move. So, some communities actually provide food for your party during the move. And it's usually from their dining room. And so that's kind of a nice perk. It's a really good question to ask because it might be something that's included. Or if you anticipate that you're going to eat lunch or dinner at the community, even if you're paying, make sure you let them know ahead of time so that they can prepare extra. Either way, it's It's so important to remember this piece, even if it's just packing snacks for the day. Question 8. Can I spend the night with my mom on that first night? There are different reasons why you might even be considering this. Sometimes it could be that your mom is really nervous about that move-in day. Maybe you've been the caregiver and she's been staying with you for a while. And then I've also had some families that, that were nervous about move-in day. Definitely a question to ask. Probably they're going to say yes. Now, when it comes to adult family homes, the answer would be no. And that is because it's a completely different environment, much smaller environment. Question number 9. Do we have to hang all these pictures and the TV by ourselves? Not necessarily. Many communities will offer to help you hang art and wall mount the TV. And so this is another really great question to ask. And of course, it's going to completely depend on their staffing at the time and how busy the staff is. But that's a good question. Question number 10. Who has the medication? Yes, this is a very important question. And this actually happened to one of my clients. It was move-in day. We were all there. The nurse was checking in the resident, their dad, and asked where the medication was, and nobody had it. And so this is one that you definitely want to make sure of, even if your mom or dad is coming from a skilled nursing facility, you still have to ask the question. You want to make sure that they are discharged with at least 3 days of medications, as much as you can get, really, even up to 7 days, 10 days, whatever it is, you want to make sure you ask that question and get those medications. Now, in this case, it was a weekday. It was a Friday. And so the family was able to call the doctor and get an emergency 3-day supply sent over to the pharmacy that was just around the corner. So, emergency averted. And that was a really crazy day. Question 11. And this is also our last question. What do we do with everything when we move out? We've been talking about moving in, but what about the other direction? Sometimes it's to hire care. Sometimes it's that downsizing we've talked about, or if your loved one passes. A really important side note is that rent on the apartment doesn't stop until all the items are cleared. And this also means that you may not have to rush. And this has been really helpful for some of my clients whose loved one passed away and they just needed more time. I would say most of the time it will be your responsibility to make sure those things are moved out. There, of course, are organizations within the community that take donations. Most communities don't take donations. I have worked with one that actually did. And I've also worked with a situation where the friends of the resident who was moving out, in this case, it was to hire care, actually took some of the items. And it kind of worked out great for everybody. It's been really fun answering your questions. And if you have other questions that we didn't cover today, be sure and reach out to us. You can find our information in show notes. So, finally, my doable tip: whatever you do, be prepared with the most important items front and center, which usually means the television set. Or maybe it's setting up the Wi-Fi on the laptop, or making sure the crossword puzzles get unpacked. Maybe it's making sure the puzzle table is well lit and ready to go. Whatever your loved one's important items are, setting them up will go a long way to ensuring a good first night.
Today's episode is brought to you by ClearPath Senior Living Solutions. ClearPath helps families find assisted living, memory care, and other resources. Find our contact information in today's show notes. Check out this episode's doable download in show notes for details, including industry terms and definitions we discussed, as well as a bonus tip from our guest. Have questions or your own tips to share? Leave us a message. We'd love to hear from you. And until next time, make it doable.